Raider Nation, what is good? Let's start this weekend out with some breaking news. And this news is pretty shocking, to say the least. When I woke up this morning, I didn't believe my eyes. I had to kind of do a double take. But Adam Schefter reported this morning that Kliff Kingsbury is officially out as the Las Vegas Raiders offense coordinator. Now, it's shocking. Now, obviously, there wasn't a contract in place. Obviously, after you accept that position, now the contract talks start. And so obviously something went wrong there, but I want to jump on here. And, I don't typically have the notes that I usually have because I want to jump on here pretty quickly and kind of get this out there to you guys, get your feedback, kind of get my opinion as to kind of what happened and where do we stand now with the offense coordinator position. So let me know in the comments down below. What are your thoughts? What are your initial thoughts of Kliff Kingsbury basically backing out as the offense coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders? Now, one big question is, where do we go from now when it comes to the quarterback talks, right? When it comes to who do we want to target as the next quarterback for Las Vegas Raiders? And, obviously there's still the top three between Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. Those remain the top three. Depending on who we bring in as an offense coordinator, might change the direction. But let me know, does this affect who we bring in as the next quarterback for Las Vegas Raiders? Now, where did this all go wrong? That's the big question, right? I don't know if it could have gone wrong during the interview or the direction that Kliff Kingsbury wanted to go, because in that interview, during the interview process, you discuss what your strategy is for the next quarterback. Do we want to jump up and get a quarterback? Do we want to stay put? Do we want to attack it in free agency? And between Kliff Kingsbury and Antonio Pierce and really Tom Telesco, they all had to come together and say, look, this is the direction we want to go. We're all on the same page. Let's go for it. And it was announced a couple of days ago that Kliff Kingsbury was coming in. So obviously they were on the same page. And so I don't know if the direction of quarterback was the hangup. Now, there are some rumors that are going out there that it was more based on his contract, that he wanted more of a 3-year contract, and we were only willing to give him a 2-year contract. There could have been money involved. Obviously, that is, a big sticking point for a lot of people. So that could have been the hangup. But to get to this point, to get this far, to understand that the strategy is in place and you guys are fairly aligned in the path forward, and for it to just fall apart, I don't really understand it. So I don't know if it was necessarily quarterback talks or just a disagreement in that sense, but maybe it was just purely length of contract and money. That could have been the hang-up. So, let me know in the comments down below what your reaction to that is. What do you think the hang-up really was? Now, since the announcement was dropped, there are now rumors coming out that Kliff Kingsbury might be looking and eyeing the Washington offense coordinator job, right? Dan Quinn just took that job over in Washington. He needs an offense coordinator. That position is still open, and Washington is in a perfect position to get Caleb Williams if that's who they want, right? And there's been also reports that Washington might jump in front of the Bears. They might do a swap with the Bears, and that puts them in perfect position to get Caleb Williams if that's what they want. So, if Kliff Kingsbury was eyeing Caleb Williams and that's the guy who he wanted, which would make complete sense, which would make all the sense in the world, that's the spot for him, because for us to jump from 13-1 to possibly get Caleb was almost damn near impossible for all the reasons that I dropped in my previous video. And so for us to get to that point with all the teams that need a quarterback that could fight for that number 1 or number 2 spot, the likelihood of us getting there was going to be basically slim to none. So, that's kind of where we are now with Kliff Kingsbury. The one thing that does disappoint me is, we did bring in Deshaun Foster as our running back coach, and I haven't heard any reports that Kennedy Palomalu is out. And so I think possibly he's still in the building, but he was our previous running backs coach. And it's really disappointing because Kennedy Palomalu was a well-respected running back coach, not only in that locker room, but across the league. The players loved him. The staff loved him. So I do hope Kennedy Palomalu stays in the building. We make a hire, we bring on Deshaun Foster, and now we just let go of our offense coordinator. It's really, fortunately enough, we weren't deep in the mess, but needless to say, it is a mess. It's a mess. Now we're back to the drawing board. Now we're back to square one with an offensive coordinator. Now, let's kind of get into the names that are still out there, and I'm going to do this fairly quickly. But obviously, the second top name on that list was Klint Kubiak. But now we never really brought him in for an interview, and reports are now saying that he is lined up to take the offensive coordinator job with the New Orleans Saints. And so he's completely off the table. We had other guys, Van Pelt. He's now, I believe, with the Patriots. But the next names that we brought in was Thad Lewis. He was brought in. Luke Getsy was brought in. And again, Luke Getsy has the ties to Justin Fields. Is that the route we're going to go? Are we going to maybe take a quarterback later in the rounds, or maybe stick at 13, take a quarterback and bring in Justin Fields to be a day one starter? Let a quarterback sit behind him and learn. I'm not opposed to that strategy, but if Luke Getsy does get the job because he's still out there, there's a good chance Justin Fields comes along. And then there was reports that Mike Sullivan was going to come in and interview. And so I don't think there was a date or time set prior to the announcement of Kliff Kingsbury. So he might still come in. And then there's two names that I think are still kind of top on the list, right? Chip Kelly. I put a video out there when it was announced that Chip Kelly, there was rumors of tying him to us. And right as Kliff Kingsbury was announced as the new offensive coordinator, there were reports that came out that we already brought in Chip Kelly twice for two separate interviews. And so there's a good chance that Chip Kelly now could be that front runner to come in for the Las Vegas Raiders offensive coordinator job, because there's not a lot of names. There are not a lot of names out there that are still available for this job. And so Chip Kelly could easily be one of the names that we see next being tied to the Las Vegas Raiders. And then next up, you have Hugh Jackson. Hugh Jackson has been reported that he's already been interviewed. He obviously has the ties to Marvin Lewis. He was once our head coach, which ran a pretty successful offense here with the Oakland Raiders at that time. And so Hugh Jackson's name now needs to be thrown in the pot of potential candidates. And so this is kind of where we stand, guys. It's in typical Raider fashion that we get some news like this and drama hits us. We thought everything was kind of going smooth. Everything looked like the path forward was really on point. And then we get a bombshell that drops on us. And now we're back to square one. So all I got to say is, Antonio Pierce, you guys got to move quickly. You got to move quickly, because names are going to be the names that are left are going to be dropping off the board quickly. So we're back to square one. Let's get this thing rolling. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me. If you could, please like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. As we get news, as news continues to get out there, as we continue to maybe bring in some additional candidates or bring in people for more interviews, I'll keep hitting you guys with some videos and some content. So I appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll see you guys on the next video. I'm out.